right, here we go. Just give me a moment to set up this live stream real quick, and then we'll be good to go. Thank you all for your patience. This will only be a moment. And then I'll be able to respond to you guys in the chat. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to go over some questions real quick. Actually, I'm going to talk about something I was thinking about earlier today first, and then we'll do some live questions as well as some questions that were written in. It's a nice kind of combination, I feel, to have both of those. Yeah, so it'll be good. So just give me a moment. I'm going to set up all of this stream stuff. So far, so good. All right, do that, do that. I need to get the thumbnail. It's kind of a cool thumbnail. It's very similar to what's on the screen right now. Joel with his guitar. Joel's guitar. Sweet. I think we may be good to go. It's doing its final saving, it looks like. Nice. All right, I think we're good. Just gotta click one more thing. And we're good. I think. There it goes. It's saving, it's trying to save. Good. Alright, sweet. We're good. What is up, people? What's up, Namie? Virtually Me, Art Vandalay, Mr. Tennis, Nathan. What's up? Nice. What's up, Anonymous? Endo, MR, Alfredo, Pedal Strike, Dan Gold. Good afternoon. Darius. Alright, cool. So we're all here. Yeah, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. This is just going to be a really simple talk. I'm going to talk about some stuff that was in my Why Does Joel Save Abby video. I'm not going to rehash everything that is in that video, because that's kind of why the video is there for that. I do kind of assume a little bit that you've watched that, so it kind of can help spur further discussion. And I can hear more about what you guys think. And if you've seen that video, and if you've commented or seen the comments, you can see a lot of people, bonjour Alex, have a lot to say. They have a lot to say about somewhat this video, but they have a lot to say just about Joel and the game The Last of Us Part 2 in general. And to me, to start this off, that really says something, right? That says something that this game that has now come out over a month ago, you know, a month and a half ago, that people are still talking about it. What's up, Josh? What's up, Owen? They're still talking about it. What's up, Matt? They're still talking about it, and some people are still very, very emotionally charged with it. And that means that it struck a chord. Now, whether that chord is a positive or negative thing, it really depends on the person and their point of view. Good afternoon or good evening, Yosan. Welcome. What's up, Spacey Man? What did you not like about The Last of Us Part 2? I kind of answered that last time a little bit, but I will answer it again. There was a couple things. There's a couple things I wish I could have seen more of. One of them was obviously the Seraphite Island. And they did say that they originally both of the women were to spend 5 days in Seattle. And for one of those days, Ellie spent a full day on the Seraphite Island, which I think, if you look in, actually, let's just do it right now. We can go. Let's go to the Seraphites concept art, and you'll see that I think there were some things that were pretty interesting, because most of the concept art for the Seraphites, let's see, I think it's even the one, like if you go down here, was it this one? The Escape. Yeah, it's the Escape. I think, so that one has Abby. It was one of these, it had a lot of Ellie in it. There's, that kind of looks like Ellie right there with the horse with the burning. That's definitely Abby and Lev. There was a couple with Ellie, which I find pretty fascinating. There you go. There's Ellie with the bow. So she was there during that, initially at some point. What's that battle rifle? And, oh, thank you, Mr. Tennis. Thank you, thank you. I do want to try to bring, it doesn't have to be a deeper discussion, just a more nuanced discussion, less black and white kind of, I loved it, I hate it kind of, it's more complex than that. So I wish we could have more time on this fantastic island, because I think this level was amazing, and I particularly wanted to see Ellie on this island, because for those of you who know the Seattle geography, in the middle of this island there is the Space Needle. Now, taking what we know about Ellie and her love of space, and the fact that this Space Needle was in the middle of the Seraphite Island, part of me thinks that there was something significant there. But maybe there wasn't. Maybe it was just a huge landmark. But part of me thinks that there was something at the top of the Space Needle for Ellie to see and discover. But yeah, so that was one thing. I wish we had more time there. I feel, again, saying structure or pacing, I could have used some tweaks. Me personally, I really enjoyed the game. I played it for a very long time, and I think some people feel that the pacing was too slow and they just wanted to get to things already. But I kind of like taking my time with it. I really did. The pacing did not personally bother me, but I understand how it could other people. I feel some of the things at the beginning felt a little rushed in Jackson. I wanted more time in Jackson. We didn't get a lot of time in Jackson, to be honest. And I know... Oh, thank you, Adam. Yes. Well, when I say sponsored, I received a free copy of The Last of Us Part 2. So at the beginning of like the videos and the live stream, I say thank you, Sony and Naughty Dog, for providing me a free copy of The Last of Us Part 2. That's what it means when it says sponsored. You just have to say that. And if you look in the description, it says it as well. It's just a technicality thing. So that's why that whole sponsored thing is for. I don't receive any money from them, nothing like that at all. So going back to the beginning, we didn't spend a lot of time in Jackson, and there was initially the dancing. The Jackson dancing was playable, and there was like this cool kind of festival behind like the dance hall, where there was kids playing games and all kinds of really cool things that kind of went into it. But that all got cut. Apparently, it was like 90% done. It was mostly playable, and it got cut. Again, this is a massive game, and there's so much content. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Hi, Flareshy. Hello. And it's kind of a bummer that some of that Jackson stuff got cut, because it meant like less time with Joel, less time kind of getting to know the world of Jackson earlier. I think what we did get was cool, and we did get to see more of it in flashbacks, but I think because that initial time was kind of truncated a little bit, we didn't get very much at the beginning, it kind of made the beginning feel rushed a little bit, because it got to the catalyst moment. I put spoilers in the tires, so there's going to be tons of spoilers in all this. If you haven't played it, please leave now, because I don't want to spoil this for you. But yeah, so things felt a little rushed, things got a little quick, but I can understand that they did that because they wanted to get to the catalyst moment and get the game running as fast as possible. Were you disappointed by the story of the game? I was not disappointed by the story of the game. I think some of the narrative and plot could have used some tweaks, but the story was excellent. Their narrative, plot, and story are all different. I think people kind of use them interchangeably, but they're not. They're different things. But the overall story I thought was fantastic. Definitely. Tommy's survival only to turn into a shell of a man. Yes, it's exactly what it is. Tommy is an example of what Ellie could have become had she gone down that same route of letting the revenge and all that consume her. I know, like, Tommy is a really tragic character in a little bit, in a way. Um, he had that falling out. I think everyone forgets that he kind of had like a falling out earlier on with Joel. In the first game, like Joel, when they're reaching the dam, he's like, last time he saw me, I think he said he would kill me if he saw me again or something like that. Like they were not on good terms for a long time. And when they finally get there, he's like, bridge under the water. There's a bridge, and they literally bridge under the water, and Tommy's totally fine with him and everything. Joel kind of gets uppity with him and says, like, hey, you need to take this girl, I need this, Tommy's like, WTF? Like, you're going to come into my house and, like, threaten me now with my new life. He's like, he literally says this won't end well for you, but then they get interrupted by, getting attacked. So, you could see, like, I think sometimes we forget where their relationship was. And Tommy's a good brother. He's a good community member, but he says things. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, definitely not. And there you go. I don't want to ever see your face again. That's right. That's pretty strong, right? Really, that's pretty strong. Yeah. And the thing about Tommy is he says he seems so rational with Ellie after Joel dies, right? He seems so rational with her, saying like, you don't know what you're walking into, like, you need to plan this out, we would be left vulnerable. What does he do? What's up, Kiwi? Thanks for stopping in, man. What does he do? He freaking leaves the next morning, leaves Ellie high and dry, makes sure that she doesn't leave and follow him. Maria calls him a dumbass, and he's kind of a dumbass sometimes. He really is. Yep. That's exactly it, Darius. He does. Tommy feels guilt. Huge guilt. There's a lot of, like, nuanced little things that some people pick up on, some people don't. And it's not like it's right or wrong. There's a lot of layers in the story. And this kind of ties into something that I was thinking this morning. Because a lot of people said, like, with the ending, like, oh, the reason that Ellie didn't kill Abby is because, when she saw Abby holding Lev, it reminded her of Joel holding her, and that's why. I'm like, there's a major problem with that. And you know what that is? It's that Ellie was completely knocked out for all of that. She has no recollection. She has no personal experience with what happened in the Firefly Hospital. Let's go to the model viewer. We'll click on this one here, and we'll see Joel and Ellie. Ellie is out, and she was out the whole time. So the thing that I was thinking this morning is I wanted to go back to that scene, that pivotal scene in St. Mary's Hospital. And what's the last thing that Ellie sees? She is like climbing over the bus, falls in, tries to save Joel, and then she gets whisked away, drowns. Last thing she remembers is drowning. A death. Maybe a death of an old self. Who knows? It can be very symbolic. So that's the last thing she remembers. Then when she wakes up, she's foggy. She's been under anesthesia or some kind of drugs that the Fireflies gave her. She wakes up and it's like, what happened? It's like, oh, we saw the Fireflies, yada, yada, yada. You guys know the rest of the story. And then she just kind of turns. It's like, can you imagine, like, crossing the entire United States, this huge, everything, she says everything that she's done, like, only to, like, have this really huge letdown, right? Madonna and Child. Ba-dunk. Yep. That's a great sculpture. I've seen that sculpture in real life, and it's a really good one. It really is. Um, it's so, and then because this goes into his lie. Well, I think some people think it's like it's easy. They try to maybe understate the lie. Like maybe Ellie could just why doesn't Ellie just get over the lie? Like okay, he lied, big deal. It's important to remember that she has no idea what happened there, right? No idea. What's up, Rage? Her whole understanding of what happened in that hospital, that crucial, critical moment, is based off of Joel's observations. And why? Because he killed everyone else, basically. I mean, there's a couple of them left. We know Owen survived. We know Abby survived, as well as a few other Fireflies as well, right? But the main characters, Marlene, they all perished. So this was something that I was also thinking about. Ellie didn't even know that Marlene was there. Joel never told her that Marlene was there. Marlene raised, kind of looked after, promised Ellie's mom, actual biological mom, Anna, promised her that she would look after her and protect her, right? And Marlene did that for 13 years. Marlene is like wounded in Boston's like, hey, I need you to get this girl to this group to meet at the Capitol, right? And then she would meet up with them later. She didn't know like what would go down. They meet, almost nearly a year later, right? It was Mr. Tennis, and that's the thing that I'm so glad they added that part because it really sheds a lot of light on kind of like things that was kind of misunderstanding. And I don't want anyone to interpret this as like I'm like, oh, pro Firefly, anti Joel. I'm not. It's not like that at all. Like that's what makes the game so good and compelling is there's all these kind of interwoven things that you can really make arguments on either side. It's really true. But sometimes we kind of get into these detailed semantics of like, oh, the vaccine wouldn't work, Joel had to save her, he's good. Like, I'm just looking at this purely from Ellie's point of view. I think this is really important to understand her pain, to understand her anger, because there's actually like a lot of other things that aren't necessarily mentioned. Like that was her the same way that Joel is her surrogate father for 5 years. Marlene was her surrogate mother for 13 years. Like that is a long time, and those are some very formative years. Thank you, Rage. Thank you. That's kind of like kind of a crazy thing, right? So just imagine, and then Joel kills her. Joel kills Ellie's surrogate mom, right? Again, I understand that he did not have a great choice, right? He had to kill them to save Ellie, or he had to like die himself or something, right? It's a really, really tricky situation. So that's something that I was thinking about this morning, was just trying to view it from Ellie's point of view. And it's a pretty damn interesting thing in my opinion. What do you guys think? Have you guys ever thought of that? Have you ever thought that Joel kills Ellie's surrogate mom? Because I haven't really heard anyone really bring that up too much. And also just the fact, hey, he did not even let her know. Like that's kind of he didn't even fully come clean. Like I was thinking about it today, when we say that he came clean finally, in the flashback when they're at the hospital. He didn't say, oh, by the way, Marlene was there, and I killed her, because that's I don't What do you guys think? I want to know how do you guys think Ellie would react to that news if Joel told her that? Because if you see, he is very, very subdued in his answer. What do you guys think about that? Sure, adoptive, surrogate. It's semantics. It doesn't. I mean, it's the same thing. Marlene and Joel kind of have a similar role, right? I'm just curious what you guys think. And here's kind of an interesting parallel that I noticed as well. So, and this is really important between the Doctor and Marlene's discussion that I'm so glad they included in part two, is Marlene says we need to let Joel know. And the Doctor, Jerry, says, why? Like, why do we need to let him know? And she's like, he traveled all the way across the country for her. You know, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Joel saving Abby, the right thing to do. They both chose to do the right thing. Let no good deed go unpunished. They both died for those doing the right thing. Someone mentioned to me earlier, why doesn't Marlene just tell Joel that Ellie drowned? Right? They could have. That would have been, you know, obviously morally not correct, but for them, as far as like getting what they wanted, that would have been great for them, right? But it kind of shows that like Marlene wasn't like a terrible person. I'm not saying Marlene's the true hero, not necessarily. No, I mean in Marlene you can see she was torn, and they really like I think they did a great job updating her character, like the look of it in the second one, because if you look if you look at how they made her kind of like age, they kind of made her look like she was really like just distraught. Obviously, it was a long journey, but she felt really torn. The American Dreams comic. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, exactly. Well, that I see that is basically the Obi-Wan Tatooine reference. Marlene is a Firefly. She is like in the QZ like a fugitive. She can't just have Ellie with her all the time. She put her in. This is my view. She put her in the military academy for a couple reasons. One, learn skills, learn like that culture, learn and see how corrupt it was firsthand, right? Firsthand learn. That's why Ellie like and they talk about it at the museum with the dinosaurs. He's like, oh, my teacher was a dick, and talks about all this stuff, right? And to me, that's why. And that's like not uncommon. You see things like this in other kind of things like Game of Thrones and other things as well, where you have like this a person was either taken captive, it's kind of like holding, I don't want to say holding ransom, but like kind of keeping this other country in line by they have one of their heirs living with them. But it's also you can kind of see and learn about how these other people live and learn, and I think that's pretty fascinating. I really do, and that's why I think I didn't interpret that Marlene had her in the Fedra military school because she didn't want anything to do with her. I think she thought that was the safest place for her to be, and honestly, I think it's probably pretty true. Ellie carries the weight of the world on her shoulders by being the only one that's immune and not be able to help you. Yeah, it's, and I kind of explained that in the relationship with the coming upon Adam and Sydney. Yeah. Should Joel have had a heroic ending? I did not expect a heroic ending. Um, the only person who really had a heroic ending was Tess. And what did that get her? She asked Joel to get Ellie to the Fireflies, and then he basically did. I mean, she says get him to Tommy's. He'll know how to get her to the Fireflies. But what she really wanted, she didn't. Someone said like, oh, Tess just wanted Joel to get her to Tommy's. That was it. And it's like, no, she obviously wanted more than that. Um, and people will say, oh, well, it was after. It was after she got bit, you know, so she wasn't thinking rationally or whatever. I'm like, that's not it. I see that those last moments with Tess, that's like her deathbed, right? That was her deathbed. Like she's like, Joel, hey Joel, we're shitty people. She just like laid it on the line. He's like, whoa, like this ain't us. We need to go back to the QZ, crack open some whiskey. Like what? No, Tess is like, no. She was the catalyst. Tess is like, Joel, I love you, but you're an idiot. Like, take this girl, get him to Tommy's, get him to the Fireflies. Maybe there'll be some chance of humanity, because what we have going on isn't going to end well. It's not going anywhere, right? That was her dying wish, and that was the thing that I brought up in the video. Is like it really was a bit of a spit in the face. Joel took that from Tess. Her death was meaningless, rendered meaningless in that, which is tough. Lewis, I think some people like the game, some people don't. I think we were just kind of discussing it. I think this game inspires a lot of discussion, and I think what a lot of people need is they need to have some discussion with this. I think it's really important. Oh, what's up, Casual? I liked how you point out how aware Joel was of the cycle of violence from experience. Choosing the XU marking. Yes. Yes, I know. He did. He knew it was coming, right? Like, he was not going to let Marlene live. And it's not only that, that was Ellie's like kind of like mother figure a bit. I mean, I don't know if anyone ever answered that. Do you guys think Ellie would be pissed if she found out that Marlene was there and Joel killed her? Absolutely, she'd be so pissed. She definitely would. I don't think she would ever forgive Joel for that. So that's just something to know. And once again, I know people think that I'm just crapping on Joel right and left. That's not it. There's a lot more nuance to it. Obviously, he was put in a really crappy situation. You know, he had to choose this innocent life that he had bonded with, or walking away, which for him at that point, walking away would have been death. He might as well be walking into an ocean and drowned, right? Yeah. Exactly, Casual. I was going to bring that up in a little bit, but I'm glad that you brought it up now. Marlene was the only one who could have told Ellie about her mother. She had the notes that, like, I'll tell you more about her later, you know, when the time is right. Oh, it's all gone. Vlemtrix. Oh my. Thank you. 10 SEK. You're too kind, man. You're too kind. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. You've been incredibly supportive of my streams, like factions and everything. I appreciate that. Thank you. Do you think Joel deserved better in this game? That's again, deserved is like a strong word. Like, what did people deserve? I think if we got more time with him, I think people would be more accepting of it. Like I said in the video, once again, I don't think people were upset that he died. A lot of times it's how he died, and the fact that he died early in the game. Right? Exactly, Mr. Dennis. Because that's the thing, Joel is the main theme throughout the game. Look at, like, these last two videos, all anyone wants to talk about is Joel, right? Lewis, I would suggest you watch my videos. I don't know if you watched my videos, but I talk about a specific topic in both of my last two videos, which are about a half an hour each. Yeah. Let's see. There was a couple other questions that I wanted to see here. Okay, so there's a couple things to go along with the Seraphites and that Space Needle Center thing, like some things that were cut. There was a lot of things that were cut. Eugene. I wanted to bring up Eugene. What did you guys think about Eugene in this game? To me, the first time through, I figured like, oh, this is the guy that's gonna like betray Joel, like the information, like this old ex-Firefly. Left his wife and kid, like sacrificed everything for their cause. And people said like, oh, well, Eugene wouldn't know about it. Only Tommy knows. It's like, it's really simple. There were other Fireflies there. He could have heard from a different Firefly through the radio, or could have overheard Tommy. Maybe not. I would think that a Firefly would contact him. I mean, to me, it's just kind of the fact that he. Like, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. He taught Dina how to like repair radios. He's constantly like trying to salvage like this electronic equipment. He did not tell Dina about that place. She was like, "Wait, what? Like Eugene had all this?" I'm not even talking about like the drug den. I'm talking about just like the electronic lab that he had. To me, he was basically. I like the idea of detective game with Eugene over the years working out while getting incredibly high. That's a good one. That's the thing. That was like Eugene's like lair, right? Once again, Jackson has a lot of secrets. Everyone in Jackson seems to have a lot of secrets. Um, and for me, Eugene, like this whole fascination with electronics and trying to repair radios and stuff, to me, um, it's so funny. Like the day after I thought about it, I just happened to run into this guy who was he's like, oh, like I'm gonna go buy a ham radio. I'm like, oh, like are you into that? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm super into ham radios. And I started to ask him about like how far can those like travel? And he's like, dude, you can contact people in Europe, like from where we are here in the Pacific Northwest. If it's a full moon or if like the moon is in the right spot of the sky, you can bounce your signal off the moon and hit and talk to people in Europe on a ham radio. I'm like, holy crap, I had no idea. So they definitely could have communicated with like Seattle, Santa Barbara, Catalina. Definitely. What's up, yours truly? I do remember you. Yes. Yes, in the Santa Barbara radio. Like, there was just too much of Eugene for him to not have any significance. People just said, like, oh, it was just to show Ellie that it'd be nice to grow old and die. But I think it's more than that. I think it was something that got cut. I think Eugene had a bigger role initially and it got cut. So, Darius, do you think there are people in the International Space Station still? And you, I did not even think about that. That's kind of blowing my mind a little bit. Those poor people. Those people are probably screwed. They're dead. I mean, I guess they're there, but they're probably dead. I mean, technically, in The Last of Us, the year is 2038. Isn't that weird if you actually think about it? Yes, Miamba. So I think there's several people that used to have a bigger role. Emily was one of them with the Seraphites. I think we had like again their days that when the both the girls' days got cut, Ellie's whole time on the Seraphite Island got cut. I'm sure there was a lot of Emily that got cut. Same with Isaac. Um, Both Emily and Isaac have fantastic actors. I mean, the acting in the game is great. Um, but yes, thank you, NJ. Good to see you, NJ. Ellie herself wondered if Eugene tried to reach out to the Fireflies. Neither of them even knew he was a Firefly, right? They were like, oh, wait, what? Like, Eugene was a Firefly? I guess Dina knew, but Ellie didn't know. It wasn't, like, well-known information that he served with Tommy or whatnot. But to me, it was just there's too much they put into Eugene for it to be a red herring or for it to be just to show her, hey, you can die of old age of a stroke in this game. Um, yeah. Your own PSN, PFP. Yeah. Been hearing some rumors in the grapevine about a factions announcement. I think they're working on it really hard. Whether it's faction or not, I don't know. But it does tie her love of space together. Is that what part 3 is? Ellie's making it to space? Absolutely, you can do long distances with ham radios, it's true. Huge distance, I know. And that's what I mean. I mean, Eugene could have gotten in contact with some Fireflies. They're still, or ex-Fireflies, because I got like, at that point they were all ex-Fireflies, right? And one of them could have easily said, hey, the people who took out Salt Lake, took out our lab, crushed our dreams. This dude and a girl, young girl. He could have easily pieced them together, right? I just think it would have been also an easier kind of vehicle for doing the whole them finding out instead of it being so coincidental, if that makes sense. I mean, because it was kind of coincidental that Abby happened to stumble upon him. It was a bit of a plot contrivance, as I said. You're listening to the stream through ham radio right now. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Do you think you ever see anything about nuclear weapons or power plants? The power plants is really interesting. I'm sure Neil Druckmann could talk to Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl, about that. I always kind of wondered about that, if there'd be areas that were kind of like dead zones and stuff like that. That's right. No secrets between the Salt Lake crew. And you really kind of see that, even though like they have actions that can be kind of seen as dickish, you know, right? For lack of a better word, for being like these jerks, or being really, they really have each other's backs, and that's why it is fantastic, Mr. Tennis. It really is. That's why it's kind of, the Jackson gets kind of weird a little bit. How like, whoa, Dina, you didn't tell Ellie, and then whoa, you didn't even tell Jesse that you're pregnant. Like all these kind of things that kind of, I don't know, come out from behind. That's just really strange. Um, yeah. Can you tell us about that seal stuff with Abby and Owen? I did mention it last time, but the seals, it was basically they're viewing the same issue differently. Like they're not recalling it the same. Um, like Abby says that there's no spots, and Owen says there's spots, and she is so certain that it doesn't have spots. And eventually the seal, like right, like goes up to them. He's like, "See, spots." Right? Was Abby bitten at the end because all her hair was gone? No, I think they just shaved it. But I'm glad you brought that up, Lee, because I want to throw something out there. I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Um, so, speaking of Owen and Abby, and there's a boat scene, the sex scene, that doesn't seem to make much sense, right? Unless Abby was originally supposed to be pregnant. Like imagining Abby, like Lev is dead, and Abby is pregnant on the cross. Like that being kind of the hope, right? Because pregnancy does kind of the unborn child, that's like hope in the future and all of that you see both in Dina and in Abby. And that would kind of make an interesting parallel, right? It'd make that stronger. I know it kind of happened with Mel. Maybe they added Mel at the end and decided to make Abby not pregnant. I'm like, what do you guys think? I'm really curious because to me, the scene seems kind of unusual. Like it doesn't seem to tie anything in without that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Wasn't Abby sick as well? I think she was. I think, yeah, Abby did say, like, oh no, I'm just not feeling well. I think you're totally right. I don't think so, Spaceman. Spacey Man. I don't think so. I don't even know if those exist anymore. And then it does really add to the other story. It doesn't really add to the story other than tension between Owen and I know, right? It seems unusual. It seems really unusual. Um, so that's just a thought. Because I can see, if you think about it in a certain way, how like Dina and Abby that would could really tie um, Ellie into empathizing more. Yeah. Dina was sick. Dina was sick for a long while, and yeah, I think Abby did get sick for a little bit too, which is kind of unusual. It's just something. That's when I look at the story. When I look at you can see that certain things needed to be cut, and I think they did a good job, kind of truncating down a little bit. But I think the story is, like they said, so ambitious, so huge in scope that it can be tough, because the main important thing is the duality of the two playing the 3 days as Ellie, the 3 days as Abby. And so that has to be in there. And so that really is a very strong foundation for what the structure is going to be. Yeah. Dina is kind of a badass. She really is. What's your favorite action sequence in the game? That's a good question. I liked a lot of them. I did really enjoy both when you play as Abby, when the Seraphites attack at the very beginning on horseback. That was super cool, as well as when Ellie and Jesse are in the Jeep when they take out the WLF and then they start fighting the WF guys, and then they're trying to get away from the Horde. That was both of those. I love those vehicle scenes. They did not. The Tommy sniper was dope. I did like that as well. I liked it. It was like so unnerving, like being pinned down. The one thing for someone who, like myself, who plays factions, I really wanted to snipe back at him. I wanted to snipe back at him so much. I really did. And we weren't able to. But that was interesting. Someone did mention on Twitter, they said that Tommy was a genius because when you go shooting with him in the Finding Strange chapter, he says, hey, like, shoot the sign, that will draw him out. and then he starts shooting the cars, the top of the cars, to try to draw you out. Like, he's a genius. Whether that's a genius move, I disagreed. I said, yeah, it's a move. I don't know if it's a genius move, but it's a move. It's smart, maybe not genius, because I think there's too much of Tommy that would prove otherwise. Yeah, a lot of people thought Abby was Anna. Yeah, there was a lot of reasons why that wouldn't be the case. It's pretty clear to me Anna's dead. All right, let's see. Let's look at some other questions. Where do you think the devs can go from the ending? It's so open. I feel like a third game is inevitable. What would you like to see from part 3? I think that's from Archez. Thank you for submitting that. Yes, I think there is probably most definitely a part 3. I think they have set that up very well. I think a trilogy for The Last of Us would be excellent. Absolutely. I think just doing a sequel and not doing a trilogy would be a bit disappointing. I really do. I kind of explained some of the stuff about going to the Promised Land at the end, as far as going to Avalon. So there's something I kind of mentioned just on the side to someone on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, you should definitely get on Twitter, because I talk about this stuff all the time. And there's developers on there as well, and they hear what we're talking about, and I think it's good to get your thoughtful, considerate information out there. So the thing about them going to Catalina Island, and it's definitely Catalina Island. I've actually been to Catalina Island a couple of times, several times, and I've been to that round building. I believe it's a dance hall, an old dance hall, and so. But the important thing is it's a round building, and I think Neil Druckmann referred to it as, oh, that's a round building, Catalina Island, and that the city is Avalon. There's I think there's only 2 kind of like towns on the whole island. The island's not big at all; it's a small island, but that town is called Avalon, which in Arthurian legend, Avalon was this island that he went to recover after an epic battle. Right? And so, if you can consider the Arthurian legend to recover and a round building, then you can kind of make a connection to a round table. And what is the whole Knights of the Round Table? What's the round table about? It's that everyone has equal status in that place. That was King Arthur's thing. Everyone has equal status at his table. There's no head, there's no foot, everyone's equal. I think that's a pretty good point, and that is the Promised Land they're going to, right? So I think I really like that. I think that's a brilliant tie-in. And as far as part 3 goes, and I made a video a long time ago, like 3 years ago, kind of talking about where I thought The Last of Us Part 2 would go, and I talked about going to a new world. I said, what is The Last of Us? All we saw was that initial kind of like Ellie playing the guitar with Joel walking in, that trip. That was it. And from that, I kind of made these kind of ideas. I think The Last of Us is Joel. Joel is the last of us, like the old world, the old way of things. And you have this new world, and that's exactly kind of what they did. Not exactly. It's way more of that. You obviously have forgiveness and revenge and all these other cycles, which is excellent how it kind of tied in. But really, they went to a new world, and it's not like necessarily a thinking like historically. It's like a paradigm shift in our view, with Joel kind of being like this, a more traditional character. In order to go to the new world, the old world must die, basically, and I kind of mentioned that in a couple different videos. And so that's kind of my take on it. I am going to be making a video specifically about all this, like, what is The Last of Us Part 3? And for any of those other YouTubers or journalists, gaming journalists who are listening right now, if you mention this in your videos or in your articles, please do give credit. because that hasn't been happening. I'm not going to name any names or do anything specific, but that has not been happening, and I've seen those. So let's give due credit of where you heard some of these ideas. I think that would be good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. So I will go more into part 3, but that's to answer that question. That's kind of where I think part 3, I think we see Abby, Leb, and Ellie continuing. Ellie's starting a new journey, and she needs to, she wants to get back to her, her purpose, which for her was a meaningful life, which was being a cure or somehow sacrificing herself for the greater good, right? So I think it is very, very well set up for part 3. Very well set up. And I hope to goodness it happens. I really do. From PSN Shikamaru Prodigy, hope you talk about whether this game could still be considered Game of the Year. Yeah, I do. I do think it could be considered Game of the Year. I don't see why not. I really don't see why not. I know some people say it's too controversial, it's too divisive, this and that. To me, that's maybe a hallmark of good work. To just cater to things and to make things, to not really push the envelope on things is not bad. Like it's not like a negative but, and I hate saying bad good because that's not very nuanced. It's a very unique game. There are no other games that I think have riled at people's emotions as much as this has, right? And it's kind of crazy. Did the monkeys in part 1 have the infection? They did, and they ran out, which is why I really thought that there would be infected animals. And when you see, that's right, casual, art is divisive. When you see that one tree was kind of like scratched by, we should change this, this Joel Ellie here. I forget that I have that on there. Let's find something else. When you see that, I thought like, oh, infected bear, infected wolf. If it went down the route of the Divine Comedy, which Druckmann kind of mentioned that Ellie's adventure to the Seraphite Island was going through various stages of hell, which is Dante's Divine Comedy, or inspired by it, at least. Let's see, let's do Seraphites. There's some cool Seraphite stuff in here. And in that Dante's Divine Comedy, he has to fight 3 beasts, and I thought maybe those 3 beasts would be infected animals. That would be cool. That's so cool. That's a good one. This scene is really interesting right here. I wonder who they have in that hook. That's just like a Seraphite, random Seraphite person. It's kind of an interesting, really grisly one. The monkey was infected because that's how the guy died. It was. Yep. Although I think he shot himself. Apes are closest to humans. So that would be really interesting if it mutated. The Rat King was made up of 3 infected, so maybe that is a good observation. Darius, that's a very good observation. It was at least 2, but there were many mixed in. But it could have been 3. There was 3 humans who actually acted it out. I know that. So there was 3 in that sense. Someone did mention recently on one of my things that they said that they never thought of the Rat King as this manifestation of Abby's having to overcome her father, like dealing with her father's death, which I love that they did that in the game. You know, you have like surface level meanings, then you have like the emotional meanings to things, and people tell me all the time like they don't think about this. They're not thinking of that. They're just playing a game. It's just a monster in the basement. You know, it's like I don't believe that. I mean, if you listen to the podcast, which I highly suggest you guys listen to the podcast. Christian Spicer it's a whole bunch of people that put up PlayStation. Naughty Dog helped him. He's the host of the Last of Us podcast. I highly suggest you listen to that. They have lots of great insight and background information, things that got cut, that you can really extrapolate more of this stuff, which I enjoy. and I think you could get a lot more out of it as well. Let's see. Do you have a major interest in English or interpretation of emotions? I am not an English major. I did very well in English in school, or at least the literature. My grammar is not the best. It's not horrible, but I think I do not come across very eloquent. I really think I don't. If I write a script, I think I can be a lot more nuanced and eloquent with what I want to say. But I think very much in my head a lot. I'm a very introspective, very less, more introverted, less extrovert. Even though, I have this channel and I do these things, I spend a lot of time thinking on my own and try to view things from a different kind of viewpoint. Thank you, Elite Gaming. Thank you. And so because of that, I thought English was good, but I didn't go into it. I went to more scientific studies. And let me get a glass of water here real quick. My mouth is getting super dry, so I'll be right back in 1 sec. All right, can you guys hear me? Hopefully I didn't undo my my mic. I just have my PS4 headset on. That's what I'm using. Is it all good? Hopefully it's still there. Thank you, Mr. Tennis. Thank you. Audio good? Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Yes, okay, good. There was just a delay. Audio's still good. Sometimes with this mic, it's very, very, very easy to accidentally mute it. And so I wanted to make sure I didn't do that. If I end up doing that, please let me know in the comments ASAP, and I'll get that back. So let's get back on track. So yeah, English. I love English. I love historical literature. I have a lot of books that I really enjoy. The post-apocalyptic... Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tennis. The post-apocalyptic... I don't even want to call it a genre. Just that kind of style of book is something I really, really love. I've said it a million times, but it's because it kind of really distills things down and gets to the true nature of people. And I like that. I like that you have this really intense... Oh, there's those nasty bloater guys. We'll go to that one. That's a nice picture. I like that one. Thank you, Spacey Man. I do all that myself. I don't have an editor. I don't have like a graphic designer. I do everything myself. Well, one-man show. Sometimes better than others. And I do get help on some of my videos with the structure. And I get I'll submit my scripts for feedback from friends. Thank you. I get what I deserve renting house though. Yeah. Okay. So let's get back on track here. So let's see. You're upset about Isaac's death. I think that was something that got cut. I think we saw more of Isaac. I'm not really upset about Isaac's death because I feel the WLF and the Seraphites were meant to wipe each other out. That endless cycle was just supposed to end in chaos, nothingness. The whole Seattle kind of reminded me, and I asked the art director about it, and he didn't know about these paintings by Thomas Cole. Did this series of 5 paintings called the Course of Empire, and it starts very pastoral. And then goes to like civilization and then ends in ruin. It's like Rome It's like this is very old paintings, very very old paintings, but the the chaos that happened on the Seraphite Island reminded me so much of um, that painting. It really did. Like the end, you had all these people like these two warring sides killing each other, and like there's women and children. It's just chaos, and it's just things going away. Um, and for me, that's just it was. I think he was meant to die. I would have liked to seen more of him, absolutely. But I know everyone doesn't want to play a 60-hour game, but I would have played it. I would have played a 60-hour game, for sure, absolutely. Do I have a dog? I had a dog. She passed away last year. If you if you watch, I've only shown her once, and it was at the end of my like 10K special video. It's at the very end. It's just a picture. She was the first strategist, and she used to sit at my feet every time I played. She was a incredibly in tune dog. She was a Basenji mutt, and Basenjis are North African hunting dogs. I She was a stray when she was like 3 months old, and yeah, she that species tends to bond very strongly with one person, and you kind of get like this just really good kind of, I don't want to say telepathic or whatever, but like she just would know where I would, like she would know like when I was gonna go like start playing games and stuff. She would like go and sit down by my chair. It was so cool. She was a great dog. She was a wonderful dog, an incredibly loving dog, very protective, and very loyal till the end. She died in my arms, and it was incredibly sad. It was incredibly sad. But I don't have a dog at this time. I really wish that, I think at some point I will get a dog again, but at this point it's really tough. But yeah, if you'd like to see her, she was at the end of the 10K subs video, because she died right before, like when I was making that. It was really sad. I, had like 10K and I was really excited, and she passed away. It's okay. It happens. That's life. You know, there's life and there's death, right? Like you're born and you die. That's what happens, And we had great times together. She was a great dog. But yeah, and it happened a while ago, but it still feels raw, right? It still feels raw. And I really wish that initially, and I kind of alluded to this, and I think it was like 10 things that, no, 5 things that you might see in the E3 reveal. This is like in 2018 or something like that. And like that's when Druckmann had like a picture on Twitter with a dog, and I was really hoping that Ellie would have a dog as like your companion, that you could kind of like give like signals, like you could whistle and like have him like flank or something like that, or she could like, if you got like into like a melee scrap, she could like bite the person's like leg or arm and distract them. I think it would be so awesome. And they did say that initially Ellie was potentially gonna they had a picture of her with a dog. They were thinking about having an AI dog, but it didn't work out, and so they ended up making the dogs with the WLF, which reminded me of Cerebus, right? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Lee. I know so many of us have lost pets, and we do get emotionally attached to them, and it's just part of life, letting go. And I do. There's things that remind me of her, and I've moved on, and one day I'll get another dog, definitely. I really like English Shepherds. Maybe one of those. They're really good farm dogs. But anyways, yeah. Thank you guys for your kind comments. She died over a year ago, and it's fine. It is what it is. Do I have a member page? I do. Well, I should say at the top like a membership or whatever, or join. I think this is join. I don't do a whole lot with the membership, but that's what it's there for. Like you get like a little like icon next to it. Yeah. But I think it'd be cool in part 3 if Ellie got a dog. If for no other reason than like the gameplay ideas, like they really expanded upon the dogs, Alice and Bear, right, in this one. Like it was really cool having the dogs in this game. They did a great job with them. I don't know about so I love dogs, but I did not let all the dogs live. I needed to I needed to make sure they didn't sniff me down. Sorry, guys. I know it was really tough, but it needed to be done. Let's see, what other questions do you guys have? I did see, am I going to do a 20k special? Probably not. Probably not. I'm trying to put most of my time, so I've kind of... Ollie is the toy, yeah. I kind of changed. So for the first 2.5 years that I had this this channel, I did mostly factions videos. I did a couple Last of Us videos, but mostly factions videos, and tried to get out 2 to 3 of them every single week for 2 to 3 years, which is... It really... What's up, Urban? Thank you for stopping it. It was really tough doing that. Really, really tough doing that. But I have a couple of videos in the works right now that are more along the lines of these last two. They take a lot longer. They take a long time to put together, and as you can see, that they've both been about a half an hour. I don't want them all to be around a half an hour. That last video, I was really hoping it'd be like 12-15 minutes. It ended up being 35. I wanted it to be thorough. I wanted to address criticisms and considerations. I tried to do as much as I could, and for both of those, I was like, so be it. It needed to be 30 minutes. I really wanted them to be definitely under 20, and they weren't. But they needed to be what they were, and they needed that amount of time. And in a weird way, I think The Last of Us Part 2 is the same thing. I think they would have liked to have streamlined things a bit, but they really need to do it. How often do I go live? When I can. Not very often, although this is probably like my 90 some off like live stream. I live stream Factions sometimes, the multiplayer. I like playing it. It's fun. It's probably, in my opinion, the most underrated multiplayer that we've experienced. A lot of people don't even know it even existed until there's some outroar with it when they said it wasn't going to be included at first with Part 2. But I think it's a fantastic multiplayer. So now I'm kind of focusing on videos where I put a lot more time and effort into them, distilling new ideas and concepts down. And no, there's no villains in The Last of Us Part 2. Navkaran. And so the next, I'm not going to say what it's about, just because I don't want other people to try to take it and beat me to the punch, so to speak. I mean, I'm not really worried about people stealing my ideas. I'm not at all. But I kind of like it being a surprise a little bit. I'll give you like a little bit. It's kind of more about structure of the game. It's about structure. So that's my hint. It's about structure. That's all I'm going to kind of say about it right now. But to go, that's one video. I have a lot of different videos to do. One, I want to kind of maybe potentially dive more into, and it might happen with the structure video as well because things got cut. The Seraphites were a super interesting group that did not get a lot of airtime, and they definitely, it happens. I mean, they can just say like, I'm inspired. It's, some of them, it is what it is, Mr. Tennis. It's all right. It's just more helpful they say like, oh, so and so, brought up the point that it's when people pretend that it's all theirs that it gets a little dicey. You and your teasers. I know, but it'll make sense once you guys see it. It will. It'll make sense. And then I was thinking about really diving more into the Seraphites because I really find their cult kind of interesting, and there are some artifacts in the game, like one, like kind of the first time that they kind of got mentioned by like this local reporter's like, oh, local woman saves group from starvation. This was like before things really went down. It was during the outbreak, but not at the point that everything went absolutely bonkers. The game took many forms right up to the last minute. They really did. There's a couple other ideas. Most of them, I don't want to put them out yet because I really want to get some of them to a spot where they're ready for public consumption, right? So that's that. The woman that clips Yar's wings is a villain. Oh, Emily. Well, I mean, yeah, right? That's, Logan, I used to post 2 to 3 times a week. Now it's like the last couple things, it's been once a week. What it's probably going to be is like one of these last videos I did. It'll be like one of those, and then some factions videos, and then one of these, and some factions videos in between. That's kind of how it's going. Let's see, Hillcrest. I like Hillcrest, WLF. Awesome pictures. Workbench. Jesse. So the thing about cool picture, kind of Searchers-esque, kind of like Joel, that one in that one trailer, the first trailer we saw, Joel walk through the doorway, kind of reminds me of that a little bit. The thing about Emily is that's the Seraphite person that we can kind of call a villain. I'm sure her stuff got cut. I'm sure there was more of a human side to her, but all you really see her is breaking Yara's arms. Stranger Things. It is very Stranger Things like too. It is. They call the infected demons. Yeah, there was all these kind of cool little details of the Seraphites. They left a lot of they for the limited amount of airtime they had. There's enough there to make me think that they had a lot of more significant things planned. Demons as they used to be humans. It is excellent, and that's in some of the podcasts. Once again, talked it's little snippets. They just will give a line here and a line there about the Seraphites and their worldview. Because we don't get to hear all of it in the game, but some of these things were cut, and so when you get these little snippets, it's kind of nice. I understand Naughty Dog not wanted to give all this stuff away because some of these ideas they save for future games and stuff like that. So that's that. You don't want to just throw away some good ideas, just put them out there. You can save them for later. I understand that. That's probably pretty smart. The Rattlers seem the worst enslaving people. Yeah. I mean, I did think that was a smart inclusion. I think in a post-apocalyptic situation, you would definitely have people using infected against other people in that manner, kind of like locking them up, using them as traps and bait and whatnot. The cold common infected demons, the Easter egg, the movie called Rec 2. I've never seen Rec 2. It does look like the trailer. What is Rec 2? I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to look that up. Rec 2. But I think it also kind of goes along with their religion pretty well as well. And I mentioned it before, but the religion really, it wasn't designed for that, and it was kind of talking about like a lot of religions can be taken out of context, and that's exactly what happened. They took our words and twisted them to justify their actions, and once again they had to justify their actions because they were being attacked by the WLF. Right? It's a Greek tragedy. Oh, cool. I'll have to look that up. Thank you, Lemtrix. Fedra was the government. It was. Will this game be better received over time? I think it probably will. Change is really hard. I mean, the game is about change, and this game really asks more of the player more than any other game I've played, right? It really asks more from the player, personally. It kind of breaks the fourth wall in a way, asking the player to empathize, and to, not just empathize, but to come to terms with their anger and with their rage at Abby. And I can see both sides. I think it's very understandable that people can be upset. I really think so. I have not seen the Flying Kitty video. I don't know what Flying Kitty is. Yeah. So let's see. Let's go back into St. Mary's Hospital. This is really, let's see if they had anything else there. There's Joel and Ellie. That's it. They didn't have a whole lot on that one. Oh, bummer. The farm in Santa Barbara are interesting. Oh, here we go. There's the boar. The boar that was in the museum was originally you were going to hunt the boar on the farm, but they cut it. That was something that was cut, but they said that they did such a great job with the motion capture of the boar that they put it in the museum. Originally, it was a deer in the museum and not a boar. There's Ellie killing a deer. There's a boar. I do like this house. Dina's Elysium, right? They're working on the next multiplayer iteration, Jonathan. Probably soon enough. I wish we got to see more of Ellie's PTSD. Well, it's kind of throughout. It's characterized in a couple different ways. One of them being that kind of like ringing sound is where it's kind of like the start of it. Vendettas. I love this gaming. The cycle of violence. That's something a lot of people missed. It is. Vendettas, that's incredibly correct. And that's the thing is people get into it and they don't realize that the hate that they have for Abby is part of the cycle. That is the whole point, or not the whole point, but one of the main points. And here's another one that I thought about earlier today. So think about this. Specifically in... Oh, I gotta say, thank you, PlayStation Naughty Dog, for the free copy of The Last of Us Part 2. It's been an hour. Thank you. Here's something that people were really upset about, is that they changed characters and stuff in the trailers than what was in the actual game. I personally didn't mind that, because I like going into a game knowing as little as possible. In a movie, any kind of medium, I want to know as little as possible. You can give me a basic kind of like snapshot of it, but I don't want things revealed early. I want to kind of experience it and unravel it myself as it goes along, as it unfurls or whatnot. But here's the really, really interesting thing about people being really upset about saying that they misled people, they lied to people. They said that Joel was in the game later, they lied to them, and they're so angry about the fact they lied about Joel in the game. They lied about Joel. Joel, lie, Joel. Do you understand why Ellie is so upset now? Because of the lie. It was a lie. Yes. Yeah, it was a lie. And yeah, that's why Ellie is so freaking upset about Joel's lie. He lied to her for 5 years. Or almost 5 years. It's a long freaking time, guys. Right? So, if you're upset that Naughty Dog misled you with this lie, then you should be able to empathize. I did not copy Steve Jobs' intro to the original iPhone. No, maybe it came off that way. But yeah, then you should be able, if you are so upset about being misled, then you should empathize with Ellie and Joel, with Joel's lie. You should be able to empathize and say, hey, I now understand how Ellie could be so pissed off and be done with Joel, right? Because they're saying the exact same things. I am so done with Naughty Dog. They lied to me. That is what Ellie is saying. I'm so done with you, Joel. I don't know if I could ever forgive you with that. You guys are mirroring the same thing, and they don't even see it. They don't even see it. I'm not saying that they're wrong or terrible people for that. I'm saying maybe sit with that for a while. Maybe sit with that for a little while and think about it, right? That's just my kind of view on it. I mean, we're kind of like, some people like want to make these really like generalized statements, and I'm making a generalized statement here as well. You know, whatever, but sometimes you have to do that to kind of prove a point, and this is just one of the things that I see with that. They were trying to really put the person in the game, and it's something that I have felt before was only really more... What's up, Alien? What's up, AS Games? Was only really experienced in multiplayer, and I think most of you here probably have played a multiplayer. When you play a multiplayer, when you play factions, it feels significantly different than playing against AI, right? They did a great job with this AI, but when you just have that idea that you're going against someone else, it's like, oof, it just feels different, right? When they down you, you feel it more. You don't get as pissed off as when the AI downs you versus like someone else. But with that having been said, what they did with this game, with the story, and putting you in these kind of potential cycles of violence, putting you, the player, into that situation, mirroring Ellie, mirroring these experiences, it's really good. It's really well done. It's really, really well done. So, regardless of, once again, I say don't get caught up on semantics. Look at the bigger picture. Look at the overall, the impact, the meaning of the game. How's that not a headshot exactly, right? We all say that. When you look at the overall point of it, it's brilliant. As I said in this video, this Why Does Joel Save Abby video, that was just kind of the intro. Obviously the video was about a lot more than that. Look at what they chose to do with this game. You take it, obviously it's one of the most anticipated game, if not the most anticipated game of all time, and you take a big risk. A big risk because they really wanted to push things forward quite a bit. They really did. It's an incredibly violent game. You cannot turn the gore off like you could in the first. And it's incredibly brave of them to try that out. Incredibly brave of them. What's up, Fire Girl? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for being here. I don't know how many of you are here right now. 80 some odd of you. Thank you for being here. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. I feel like I've talked more than I should. Oh, thank you, Ryan. You're very, very kind for that. Thank you for the 5 pounds. You're very welcome. I love talking about this game, and I love chatting with you guys. And I honestly think the whole community they need this discussion. They need to get it out. Like a lot of the anger, a lot of the rage, disappointment, disillusionment, you can go through the whole thing. We need to talk about it. We need to discuss it. We need to process it. We need to process those feelings. Don't just let them in getting us pissed off about things. And the fact that we are talking about it speaks to what they have done here. It's like I don't want the cycle of violence. Yeah. That's understandable. And once again, and I said, like, I'm not trying to say, like, people are right and wrong in their opinions. You are where you are in your path, and that's fine. But sometimes you could, you can seek help from other people, from friends who maybe have also on the path, who turned back or went forward. Get ideas from other people about, hey, maybe I should consider this. Don't think that your ideas, like, own you or weigh you down. Like, because when you take your idea and you really embody it and feel like you can't change your thoughts on things, that can put you in situations where it's very difficult to change, and you feel like you have to change your whole worldview or your whole paradigm shift in order to consider things. Think of like having like a little like sack, like a little bag where you put the idea in. You're like, you know what, I'm going to carry this idea for a little bit. If I don't like it, I'm going to toss it. I think that's a brilliant way of thinking of it. Like, you just sit with the idea for a little bit, see if it still resonates after a while. If it doesn't, toss it. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you made mistakes. I've made so many mistakes in my life. That's how you learn. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Nothing wrong at all. Hard work. Learn from your mistakes. Absolutely. Did you think your TLOU 2 videos would do this good? No. No, I did not. I think I don't really understand the YouTube algorithm very well, and I was not a career YouTuber. Like, as far as like monetization goes, I did not have monetization for the first 2.5 years because I just wanted this to be a place where people would come and get the factions and get information and just be a good thing that I gave. But the thing is, the way that YouTube works, I do know this about it. If you are not monetized, then you are not getting like recommended or promoted nearly as much. And I experienced that firsthand. A friend told me like, hey, like, I'm subscribed to you, I'm like rarely getting recommended in your videos. You might consider monetizing and see what it does. And he was absolutely correct. I monetized it begrudgingly, and just doing that little thing, like, instantly people started seeing my videos again. So it is what it is. Give me your thoughts about the false advert and DMCA channels. I don't know anything about the DMCAing of channels. Like, I haven't looked into that very much. I've heard people getting upset about. I know people were like, with the leaks, they were putting things out they shouldn't have, and I think when that happens, your stuff should definitely get taken down. When you're putting stuff that wasn't pre-approved, absolutely. Like if someone leaked, my factions stupid, my stupid factions gameplay, I probably actually wouldn't care. But if they did and it wasn't like ready in a ready form, like yeah, I could see like, hey, that kind of sucks. It wasn't ready, right? Like I said last time, if someone saw my first draft of the last video I did, they go, this video sucks, and they probably wouldn't watch it. But yeah, to get back to the question, I don't I didn't expect it to be that well. And as far as the false advertising, I kind of just addressed that. I think it's fine. I don't think it was false advertising. I think they had it. People said the trailer was like misled and it was a lie, and it was with Joel. And I found that incredibly ironic that Joel with a lie, because with those same people, you can't be upset about Joel like lying. Then hey, you have to like sympathize with Ellie then, that Joel made this huge lie, right? If that's what you're saying. So, anyways, yeah, it was supposed to be that way. And again, I like, yeah, they were very intentional. They said they didn't want people figuring out the story like well in advance, and good on them for that. I agree. I mean, it kind of sucks that the marketing aspect, you have to put stuff out there, but on the story aspect, you want people to go into your story knowing as little as possible. I think that's fine. Pistol auto zoom is annoying. Pistol auto zoom is good for annoying your friends by making them wear it. Like put it on and use that perk. It kind of gives me a headache though. I did talk about TLOU earlier. I specifically addressed what I thought TLOU would be about. I think it's about Ellie going on a journey once again and trying to become the cure, or using her meaningful death. Absolutely. Finding that. Thank you, Renting House. My videos were recommended. I'm glad they did. Thank you. And thank you for saying that. I'm glad they were recommended. I don't quite understand it. I know I am not a big channel. I'm not a popular channel. But I do very much like talking about this. And I love discussing this game. And I think it's worth discussing quite a bit because and it's kind of frustrating for me sometimes. Like, I feel like the popular discourse on it, I feel like the nuance is missing. I feel like the nuance is missing, and part of it, I feel like it's not like some of the more, I don't know, refined things aren't being promoted. It's kind of like just really shallow kind of reviews are being promoted and stuff, which is disappointing for me. It really is, because I don't feel that people have to love this game. I don't want them to hate it, but I particularly don't want them to hate it because of a misunderstanding, if that makes sense to you guys. And ultimately, it doesn't matter like what I think. I'm just one person. But I think there's the intention of this game is very honorable, and I think it's very risky. It can be very divisive. It's very challenging. But I think it's good that we were challenged by a game. I think it is. I think you can have movies, you can have music, you can have any kind of art form. Pictures, paintings can be challenging. And it's media. When you get down to it, it's all media and it's challenging. And here's an interesting thing that, some people bag on video games. And here's the really interesting thing that I saw with, like, I don't know, Ninja saying he wants to go to Hollywood or whatever, but I didn't read the article, but I did see some little clip that said, like, video games, like, made so much more money than movies did last year at the box office. Granted, obviously this year with COVID that will be a huge difference, but and that might have even been factored into this a little bit. But that to me says something, and And the thing about the video game medium that I really like, and the only reason that this game works, is because the player is complicit in it, and that's where it is. You are active in this experience, whereas the other ones you're passive. Unless you're reading, what's that? Never-ending story, you know. But yeah, that's a joke. Uh, the video games are active, where the other ones are passive, and I think that's a cool thing. It's a super cool thing. And the other thing about video games that I think gets misconceived a bit is, like they really, like consoles and all that started like in the 80s, and for the longest time, most people who played games, they were more simplistic, were kids. But now, like as we've all grown, as people have grown, as the first people who made those games and played those games as kids, they're olders now. GTA 5 made 6 billion. That's incredible. Good point there. Like, this medium of games it's not for kids. It's an art form, and it's got this really negative connotation of being just this thing for kids and like immature adults, and that's not it at all. It really isn't. And I'm bummed that that's the state of it, but hopefully a game like this, Last of Us Part 2, can really push that thought. And I think it is. I think it absolutely is. People are saying, this is the best media I've had. Book, podcast, movie, what have you, that I've experienced this year. Last of Us Part 2. And I like that. I really do like that. It's a medium with a lot of potential. Absolutely a medium with a lot of potential. Games have evolved. Yep, the kids of the 80s are in their 40s now. They grew up. It's true. It is true. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really is nothing wrong with that. What's up, Gustavo? Thank you for stopping in. Games have evolved. They've evolved quite a bit. The game disappointed me. The game did not disappoint me. It did not. It actually exceeded my expectations. If you're on my Twitter, which I feel like I'm plugging it, but the only reason I do this is because like so many things that you guys are like mentioning or allude to is on there. And when I first mentioned this game, I said that it absolutely exceeded my expectations. One, massive expectations for this game, right? Dink. Two, so how could the second game ever live up to this first game, which is beloved? That's a tough task, tall order right there. Two, you had this whole first game that had an ending that could have been a satisfactory ending. Where do they go from that whole lie with Joel and addressing that, and revenge on Joel, and the lie? That's a lot to tackle. I didn't think Joel would survive part 2. I never thought he would. So I wasn't surprised by that. And I understand people being upset about that, but I never thought he would be. But that fact alone, that I didn't think Joel would survive, I know that would be really hard for people, and would make people potentially not like the game just because of that reason. Yeah. But I thought it exceeded, and that's just like kind of talking story aspect. As far as like the gameplay goes, oh my gosh, they absolutely killed it. The audio, the gameplay, the animation. The animation's so damn good. Yeah. Technically, I have issues with people that say that it's not like next level or 10 out of 10 for the technical aspects, because it is. Loading screens, play the game 2 different sessions of playing for over 7 hours, not a single loading screen. That's amazing. The disable options are, they took the concept of accessibility and blew it out of the water. Absolutely took it to not just the next level, but the level after that. massive paradigm shift in accessibility. Props to them for that. And they got a little bit of press for that, but they really that right there was industry changing. And some people have brought that up, and they've gotten some for that, but you know, they've gotten a lot of flack for other things too, and so people need to kind of weigh both those. An inciting incident does have to occur early, Grimwalker. You're correct. Thank you. You put really insightful comments, and I appreciate that. Comments have gotten out of control. I'm getting like 1,000 of them a day or something like that, and so it's have been really hard to keep up with. So apologies if I haven't gotten back. I used to get back to every comment, and I can't anymore. So sorry about that. But I do try to read as many as I can. Personally didn't like the game, but I'm happy that you did. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to not like a game and not enjoy it, but like not like hate it, right? You can still be glad that it exists, right? There's certain movies that I don't like, but I see that the change that they had on the industry and the conversation that they bring up. Let's see, what was your favorite weapon in the game? Good question. Good question. Favorite weapon? I'm going to say one for Ellie and one for Abby. For Abby, it was absolutely the semi-auto rifle that you could switch to a burst. I've kind of mentioned that. Like, for me, that was so freaking cool. I want that. I want that in factions right now. I really do. For Ellie, we got the bow so late, but those explosive arrows were chef's kiss. So damn good. I love the exploding arrows. I really do. So that's each one. Exploding arrows and the burst option fire. Do you think other AAA publishers would be scared or empowered to make more divisive games? That's a very good question, Darius. I think... See, that's the thing. I think only Naughty Dog. They're the only ones with... I don't know what to say. With the... See, and I kind of mentioned this in my last one a little bit, but Naughty Dog has had so much commercial success. I feel like they got to a place where, that they wanted to make... I had a video that I never made. It was called The Naughty Dog Difference, and it was talking about how I thought that this game would be much more a work of art than a typical game, which would make it really both divisive and difficult maybe to understand, or not understand, but just like to conceptualize. It would be odd to people, because sometimes art can be odd and challenge you in that way. And that was the direction I felt that they were going to go, because they've already kind of accomplished everything, right? What was there left to do was to make a game that was truly a piece of art, and not just like, oh, beautiful graphics. I mean, like, really getting to the core essence of things. And I think they were the only ones that I see currently that would really push the envelope that way, where they would even push aside sales for this. I absolutely think that they weighed that into consideration, and good on them. They took a huge risk, a huge chance. For some people, it's the worst thing ever. For other of us, it's amazing and paradigm changing. For each person, this is different, and that's how we experience this reality. We all experience it differently. But I applaud them for doing that. And right now, I think Sony Santa Monica is wanting to go in that direction, and I think God of War was excellent. I think it was starting to head in that direction, and I know Cory Barlog said, man, I really wish I did that game with Last of Us Part 2. He really wishes that he had made that game, and that's an incredible compliment to the team at Naughty Dog. It really, it's a big thing to stick your head out there and to do something different, right? Are there any other factions you were mad at the game because there's no factions? They all seem to dislike it except for Bobby Barks. I can't speak for them. I can see them being disappointed in that. I could see you being disappointed on Outbreak Day. I do think Outbreak Day was not a great choice to unveil that there would not be multiplayer. But having been said that, now that was what, like 8 months ago? Like, hey guys, you had 8 months to know that it wasn't going to be there, right? So you shouldn't be surprised at this point, right? Yeah. They went out on a limb, and I applaud them. Yes, they did. Naughty Dog did go out on a limb. So, I really do empathize with factions YouTubers. Like, I don't like calling myself a YouTuber, but I have done primarily faction stuff, and I'm offering some different content, some different looks now, which I like. But I can understand how they're really disappointed, because for those of us who have played it for years, for some of us now 6-7 years now, it's really the hidden gem. On PS4, it's the hidden gem multiplayer that a lot of people don't know about, and some people are now getting it. I get comments on my old videos, and some of them, like, my heart breaks a little bit. They're like, "I just found this game. I didn't know this ever existed. I love it." It's like, you missed out on 6-7 years of factions. Oh, because they didn't know. I'm glad that they got to play it now and they experience it now, but, if they'd only known, There was a really good question. What's up, Tofu? Talk about the Eugene hypothesis. It would be brilliant, but the problem is only Tommy knows the truth. Well, with that, Tofu, like, obviously I had to cut things. Like, if I explained every single thing into detail, it would probably be over an hour, and I didn't want to do that. I felt bad about that video being 35 minutes. It would have to, and I had a little bit that I cut about the radios. Like, he's constantly fixing radios and working on radios, as he's getting in contact with other Firefly clues, like other Firefly little outlets, and one of them cues him in, like, hey, like, the butcher of St. Mary's lives in Wyoming now, or whatnot, or the brother of the butcher of St. Mary's, and then Eugene pieces the. How crazy would that be? Like, have you guys played BioShock, or just the detective? What if in Eugene's little lair he had a bulletin board with like a map and some photographs with the red string tied to the pins, and it was like St. Mary's, Seattle, and then all of a sudden, like, a question mark, like, brother, and then, like, it ends on a picture of Joel. Like, you could see his whole plot within there. Like, they did that in BioShock. That would be that'd be amazing. Not talking about BioShock Infinite, just the original BioShock. The original BioShock, not the Infinite. That would be cool, right? That would be really cool. Let's see. Let's do a couple more questions, then I'm going to call it a day. What are the questions would you guys like to hear? It's so heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. Yeah, but that was the Eugene thing that I kind of alluded on. And once again, like, with these most recent videos, I try to stay on topic and focus on just the things. There are other things that other ideas and stuff I had in mind, but if it's trivial, then I try to cut it. If it's trivial, I try to cut it. Because there's lots of little, like, interesting things that I come across. I mentioned some at the beginning of this this live stream about Ellie not knowing that Marlene was at the hospital and that Joel killed her. That's, to me, a huge thing, right? A huge thing. But I didn't put that in there. It's nice information, but does it support kind of your overall thesis that you're going for? I'm excited about PS5. I'm very excited about PS5. Everything I've seen about it. The hard drive looks, again, game-changing. And I'm excited for what that means, not just for amazing storytelling, but also for multiplayer. I really do. I think that could be great. Guys, had any other questions? Let's see. And thank you guys. You have all been incredibly respectful in here. I know some of you see the comments and some of the hate and some of, I'll just call it ignorance that you see in the comments sometimes, and I'm not going to, like, respond to that. But thank you guys for being respectful and, like, sincerely asking good questions and having an excellent discussion in here. I really appreciate that. I think it's not the easiest thing. I know for so many of us it's really easy to get caught up. It's kind of a badass picture. get caught up in these back and forths with people, right? Trying to prove people right and wrong. And thank you for being just so so sincere and authentic with this. Thank you guys. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. All right, we'll do one or two more questions, then I'm gonna call it an evening, and then I will begin working on another video for you guys. Let me know if you have any other burning questions. Burning questions, whether it's about the video or just The Last of Us in general. I really don't mind answering any of that. You're very welcome, Renting House. Thank you for saying that. What would you like a new IP for Naughty Dog to be? That's a good question. I know that they had one that they were thinking of. I don't know if they continued it. But I could see them doing a more historical game, potentially. They said no DLC, but sure they... Darius, I think that's a good point. So yeah, to go to the IP, I have no idea, but I think it's more of a historical kind of game. I could see that. I don't, but they haven't really revealed much of anything yet. Tim, I lost a friend over the defense of this game. I'm so sorry to hear that, Tim. I hope you guys are able to come to terms on that. You shouldn't lose a friend over, like, just describing the game. Maybe even reach out to them and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I won't try to, like, like force a viewpoint on them. See if you guys can't come to some, like, mutual understanding. I hope you don't lose a friend over the game. That's definitely not worth it. It's not the point of the game. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Oh, thank you so much for that £5. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I never know what to say when someone gives me a donation. I don't expect them, and so they always catch me off guard. But thank you. Know that I appreciate that very much. I am not a rich man. I am not wealthy by any means. Maybe wealthy with, I don't know, love in a bit. Love and my love for this game and the community that seems to be growing quite a bit right now. I am really surprised by it. I've said this in other live streams and stuff, but my intention with this channel was never anything like this at all. It was to put a couple of beginner guys out at the beginning, help people love the factions, this multiplayer that I think was really unknown, that a lot of people didn't know about, and so I wanted to help people and get the word out and help people just get up to speed on it, because there was no beginner's guide for it, and it was really tough. Yeah, I remember that, Darius. There was, they did, and I think one of them even mentioned they wanted to do like a space themed first person shooter, and I could see that being fun, but I don't know. I just still love this world and environment. So here's a good thing. I personally love this world and environment. I think there's so many areas you can explore with post-apocalyptic situation. They've done so much, and to me the second game was amazing, and I think they can have a beautiful finale with the third. And I really, really hope they do. On the other side, I understand they spent years on that first game. They spent years on this one. That's between the two, over 7 years. Easy. That's a long time for people to work on one subject matter. So I would not judge them or think anything else of the slight if they wanted to do something different. I completely understand that. Completely understand that. I would absolutely love Last of Us Part 3. Probably more than any other game I would. But, oh, hello. Hello, Spoik from Russia. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you being here. Hi, Max. Thank you for stopping in. Yeah, I can understand them going in a different direction, doing something else, but I appreciate that they are doing this. New historical IP would be awesome. Yeah, I think it would. I think there's a lot of different things they could do. Absolutely. I think absolutely it would, Ariel. Thank you for being here. I'd never seen you before, but thank you for being here. I think I kind of touched on it earlier, Ariel. I don't remember exactly when, like what timestamp or whatnot, but I did touch on part 3 and I kind of explained. Um, I think this game was set up very well for part 3. I think Ellie is walking; she's ready to go on her ultimate journey, and you can read into ultimate journey in a lot of different ways. Last of Us Part 2 got a lot of hate, but in a way, that's kind of what good art does, right? It can be challenge people. Make more Last of Us 1 commentaries. Oh, thank you, Andy. I know I didn't really do a whole lot. There's a lot of fun aspects of Last of Us Part 1 that I didn't get into. I've kind of touched on a lot of it in these last couple of videos. So I don't know. It feels kind of tough to go all the way back to the very beginning and do that, but I'm sure you will see more Last of Us Part 1 insights going forward. Oh, I know about that. A lot of people, Tarek, a lot of people have talking about Ellie's bracelet. Everyone's posting it on everything, and everyone's claiming to have seen it first. And who knows who actually saw it first. And to talk about that bracelet, so on the farm, let's see if it's actually, let's see if they actually have it in here. They don't. It's not under there. So you see on Ellie's wrist, it's not in. It's not there. So in that last scene that was, near this. Exactly. I was going to mention X Gamer, but I didn't want to equate it to Star Wars, but it's very much Empire Strikes Back. Very much so. And you know what? A friend mentioned this, and it's kind of right. In Empire Strikes Back, you have Luke and Yoda go into that kind of like cavern thing where Luke has to face himself like Darth Vader, and he like beheads him, and it has his head in the inside, right? You guys know that whole cave scene, right? That was kind of like the Natural History Museum a little bit, just a little bit. It's kind of like it. So there's a little parallel for you guys, Star Wars related parallel. Yeah, I like Star Wars. I like the original ones a lot. I like aspects of the new ones, but it did split the fans. And you know what now, Sunders? Now, a lot of people consider it to be the best one by far. A lot of people do. So sometimes it takes people a little while to maybe review things. But to go back to the bracelet, so when Ellie left the farm originally, she didn't have the bracelet. When she's in Santa Barbara, didn't have the bracelet. When she goes back to the farm, she has the bracelet on. And so, Star Wars spoilers. Yeah, sorry about that. She has the bracelet on when she goes back at the end. So people said, "Oh, she went back to Jackson. She got back with Dina. This changes everything." I don't see how it changes. Yeah. Oh, I know a bunch of these theories, but it doesn't really change anything. The point of the game, it's about Joel and the relationship. The first thing we see is the guitar without strings. It's about the relationship. It's incomplete. They go to find new strings because their relationship is damaged. They need to repair their relationship. The strings need to be replaced. The guitar needs repairing, and it's not. They fail on that day, right? They don't get the strings. They decide not to. And that's also the same time that the relationship goes south, right? This is the same time that the relationship goes south. And then at the end, the strings are back on. She leaves it. She comes full term. She has left Joel. Left Joel behind. It's good. Like there's closure, right? It was incomplete at first. Now it's complete. She can leave it. Right. Ellie going to St. Mary's to find out about the Fireflies. That would be cool. That would be a cool DLC. With flashbacks to Bill. How many of you guys loved the dynamic between Bill and Ellie? I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love every moment of that. Their bickering back and forth was so well done. It's so good. Like just thinking of it, I can like think of like you can start with taking these off, you know. It's like he's like like stay close on my ass, right? She's like, can't miss it. Like all those, so good, so good, so good. Yeah. And once again, for those who are on Twitter, I'll probably post this on the community thing though. So this is kind of a random like little promo or whatever. But there's an artist named David, but he goes by Kopstoff on Twitter, and he put together so every Friday leading up to the release of The Last of Us, he's a phenomenal artist. He's absolutely incredible, and I know those words probably don't do it justice, but he's amazing. And he would make a drawing every Friday and give it away to a fan for free and mail it to them and everything. And he made a little collection, and I was able to buy his collection. He put it on sale. It sold out in 40 seconds. Yes, David's art. It sold out in 40 seconds. I was fortunate enough to get one. He was kind enough to make a little personal hand-drawn illustration on the inside cover, and it's Bill, because he knows I like Bill. He freaking nailed it. And so I want to share that picture with you guys because it's so freaking good. I'll put it on the community tab. He's in Mr. Tennis. He is going to release a second edition because he is a very he's a very honorable man. He did all this for free, and he's a very considerate and kind man. And he also didn't think that his drawings would sell out that quick. He was hoping that my Twitter is just at TLOU Strategist, no space. That's it. That's my Twitter. He was hoping that it would eventually, over time, sell out. He had no idea it was going to sell in 40 seconds. So I'll put it on. And if you look at my community tab, I did mention that he did this First Friday. He calls it the First of Us, and it was like this Friday fan art, and it's fantastic. So check that out. He'll be selling those again. And I'm just saying that as a friend and as an enthusiast. His artwork is amazing. Actually, most of Naughty Dog follows him, and they love his stuff as well. There's a rose at the end of my username, and that was for Raven Rose, who was a Factions YouTuber who passed away last year. So that is in honor of her. That's why the rose is there. I know people might not know now, but that's why it was there. It's a bummer. Yeah, she was a wonderful, wonderful person, and so that's to honor her. And yeah, what's up, Joel? Glad to see you're still alive on YouTube, but that's why it's there. See, Joel's still alive in spirit and in YouTube. But yeah, so I've overgone my stay here. I feel like I'm just rambling about nothingness now. Yeah, Tarek. That's why the rose is there. It's for Raven Rose. If you here, why don't I try to? I can post you. I can. If you look up my loadout designs, I did a loadout design. It was one of the last ones I did. I kind of lost interest in doing them after doing the one to honor her. I've only done a couple since then, and they've been really hard. But that was for. I made a loadout design in her honor, and it was by far the hardest thing I've done on this channel, by far. And her cousin, Just Courtney, she's on Twitter as well, and she also has a YouTube channel. She virtual. If you get it, if you can post it right now, paste it, copy and paste it, then I will make sure that people can see it. Absolutely. Yeah. He said it's not Jesse Jr. I think his name is Joel Jesse, or Jesse Joel. Yeah, that's what I think his name is. Exactly. Potato. Will you come back as Force Ghost in Part 3, Joel? Nice question. All right. Any more questions? He didn't. Joel didn't know who Abby was. And apparently there's this 35-minute video you can watch that kind of explains maybe not just the surface level reasons why he helped her, but maybe some below the surface reasons why he helped her. Oh, thank you, Mr. Tennis. I loved probably Darius. Hopefully less than 3 weeks. I'm hoping this next one will be shorter and just as good. So hopefully less than 3 weeks. I'm hoping for 2, but it might be 3. We'll see. I need to get to work on it. But yeah. The chemistry between Gina and Ellie for me is a bit... there's... Ariel, that's a very good question. There's a bit of a problem there. There is. It could have been developed more, or in a better way. I absolutely agree with that. I think that's a good point. Good insight. It's kind of like Dina's character changed. Like the first half Dina, or not even first half, just like the initial dance Dina seems much different than going on adventure to Seattle Dina. Yeah, in my mind. So, and even farm Dina, much different. In humans, I have 2 videos kind of going into that in great length on Ellie sparing Abby. Or at least 1 video going into very good length. I would do that. That is a very interesting question. Why is Dina running around after Ellie pregnant? That's a weird... yeah, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? It's kind of weird. It's a little weird. Unless Dina wasn't intended to be pregnant at first, maybe, and they added that later. That might make more sense. Who knows? They'll put JJ in if they make TLOU 3. I don't know. They probably will. They'll probably have JJ in there. Yeah. Okay, Carl, you don't need to spam that anymore. But yeah, they'll probably have JJ in there. She didn't know she's pregnant. Are you linking your Twitter and stuff? Sure, I'll put my Twitter on here. You should... I mean, I talk about all this stuff on Twitter. I mention it a lot, but yeah, I mean, I put it in the videos in the little corner and whatnot, but here, I'll put it up if you guys want to know. It's very simple. At TLOU Strategist. That's it. That's my Twitter. I am very active on Twitter. I am. So you guys should definitely go over there. Because it's not just interacting with me, but there's other people. The developers are on there. I mean, I got in contact with the developers about different stuff through Twitter. It's pretty awesome. Am I playing anything else right now? I'm playing The Last of Us, the first one. I still play factions occasionally, but I haven't really in the last 3 weeks. I am not... I'm kind of taking a little, like, game break because the video creation has taken a lot of my time and effort with script writing. And I'm kind of really getting more into this whole script writing idea. I kind of really like it. And I hope you've liked the last couple of videos I've done. The mythology one, the ending explained, and why did Joel save Abby videos. Because I'm kind of doing something different. And for me, I kind of am trying to develop that more. And so some of my gaming time, a lot of my gaming time is going towards that. Those scripts took me a long time to write because I'm not a good writer. And my structure is awful. And I'm learning how to be a better writer. So. Oh, thanks, Darius. I did put out a factions video, the most comprehensive one. It's faction strategy. And if you play factions multiplayer, you absolutely have to watch that. And that sounds maybe arrogant, and people accuse me of that sometimes, and I don't mean to sound that, but I think for someone who has played the game for a long time, I tried to, and I solicited a lot of advice and helpful hints and whatnot, and put this core strategy into that can definitely make people, and I've gotten so many comments, people like, hey, I have definitely improved at this multiplayer because of this, thank you so much. And so yeah, that's there too. Multiplayer is fun. I like playing multiplayer and talking about The Last of Us people on multiplayer. It's kind of an extension of the game. It really brings it to life. I honestly believe that. And people are like, yeah, it's toxic, and yeah, you know, post-apocalyptic. scenario is toxic. People say Abby's toxic, Bill's toxic, right? This is kind of is what it is. Thank you, Ariel. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think Jesse maybe had a different intent initially. To me, a lot of characters kind of got changed and stuff a little bit. I think Jesse definitely was changed because his character kind of seemed like it was really trimmed down quite a bit. It does. It really does. Factions never die. Alright. It's past 5 o'clock here. We've been going for over 2 hours. I'd like to say thank you to both PlayStation and Naughty Dog for the free copy of The Last of Us Part 2. But I'd more so like to thank each and every one of you for being here today and talking about The Last of Us with me. And being just such a great chat audience. I know this is not an exciting video. It's just a kind of, and it says a live stream, but it's more of like an interactive podcast, really. We're just talking, just chatting. Yes, thank you for saying that, Dreamweaver. Please, all of you, be safe. We live in very turbulent times right now. A lot of uncertainty in the world. And I don't take this ability to connect with each of you through this medium for granted. I really don't. I don't take this for granted because, who knows? If we end up in a situation like The Last of Us, we won't be able to communicate through these kind of methods. And so we should appreciate it right now for what it is. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the sincere and thoughtful comments. And I hope to put out more videos like these last ones. And I hope to continue to have this conversation. I hope this conversation doesn't stop here. I hope you guys continue to write me messages and comments. And the conversation can continue here on YouTube in the comments, but also on Twitter. Twitter's a great place to have these conversations as well, because when it's in a public forum and everyone can see it, people, just that fact alone, not entirely, but that fact alone sometimes causes people to act differently. They'll say stuff on YouTube that they won't say on Twitter because maybe other people are seeing it, right? So that's kind of a fun medium for that as well. Plus the developers are there and they see that stuff, and they sometimes comment or like that stuff. So that's really awesome as well. All right. That having been said, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to leave you all now. We will leave with this guitar on this wall, just how the game ended. And thank you all for being here. I love you guys all. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later.